Hello everyone, welcome to this afternoon's live talk on account astrology. What's going on? How it might be affecting us, why it might be affecting us, what we can do about it, and we can work with the energies. This will obviously be saved and be on my page for anyone who wants to refer back to it and look later. And we've got some people in other parts of the world who are not able to join us live, and I do hope to be able to add this to YouTube later as well, and it will form the basis of my newsletter. Those of you who don't know me, I'm Terry Celeste. I live in Cornwall in the UK, and I'm a soul guide, a soul astrologer. So working from a karmic perspective, from the understanding, the belief that we choose our lives, therefore we choose our charts, and I'm helping people to try and understand their lives, gain a greater understanding. Thanks, Kerry. I had this problem the other day, and it turned out to be one of the devices that's plugged in, so I'm going to unplug those and see. Can you let me know if that makes a difference, please? It might be the light I've got there. If you follow me already or have had any of my newsletters, they have evolved over the years to, well, over the last 12 months, they've certainly evolved to, no, it's not improved. Okay. Process of elimination. Ties of living astrology. Let's turn that one off. The reason I've got that one on is someone was saying about having problems with lights, and this light above me chooses to go out at various times. My phone is not close by. I'll turn it off anyway. You can hear me though. Okay. Thanks, Karen. Well, I hope it will improve, but I did have this problem the other day, and it seems to be something going on. Just one last thing I can check is if I've got any programs that need closing down in the background. Right. The last thing I can do for now, I think it is something on the laptop. Hi Karen, hi Kristen, hi Josie, love to see you. Thanks for joining. Yes, so as I was saying, I apologise, it's been pointed out that there is a buzz on the line, but so I will try and speak up and speak clearly. I've done everything I can for the moment, I think, to alleviate it. So my viewpoint, my perspective that I'm coming to astrology from is that we are spiritual beings having a human existence in this lifetime, and we come here for spiritual growth. So we choose I believe, understand that we choose our lifetime, we choose our challenges as such, as part of that path, which can be a difficult thing to get your head around when you first look at it. But that's what karmic astrology or karmic things are all about, having that innate understanding that that we've had previous lives, and the echoes, the resonances from those can be underpinning what we're doing now. So, as I say, I've been doing for sending a newsletter out for the new and full moon for some time now, and it's evolved over the last sort of year into, excuse me, into telling readers, I would say stories, but it's not stories because it's actually what's happened. Relating things that have happened to me in my life, because I believe astrology is experiential. We can all study theory books, and we can all know our chart inside out, but to me it's about, how does this feel? How am I experiencing this? And there are everyday examples of how the astrology plays out for us. And so that's what I've been doing. But I haven't done a newsletter for the last 2 times as well, because of a lot of things that have been coming up for me. And part of that is part of the astrology that I want to point out to everybody. One of the keys at the moment is we must all practice self-care. Self-care like we've never done before. Notch it up. I mean, self-care, as someone once pointed out to me, it's not about you know, sitting in your PJs on the sofa watching your favourite movie with a beer or a tub of Ben and Jerry's. Partly it could be, but you know, self-care comes into all different types of things. And one of the things that I've been finding for myself is that the newsletters have been taking longer and longer to do. I'm putting more and more of myself into them, so every 2 weeks, you know, they're taking like 2 days of my time, and I don't begrudge that in any way. But I think what is evolving now, I had certain circumstances come up in my personal life, and it was, you know, I really don't feel that I can do this. I'm getting more sensitive to the energies, as a lot of you will find, as the spiritual growth that's going on. And as such, I often don't sleep very well for the nights before a full new moon. Full moon is worse than new moon. So I would push myself to get them done, often staying up till the wee small hours. Sometimes I've worked through the night to get them done. And I'm thinking, I want to get the newsletters out, but it's important also that I look after myself. So when I had certain things coming up, I was like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to push myself to the extent that I'm making myself overtired and can't function for the next 2 days because I need to catch up on sleep. So this is just an example of what's been going on. And then the next, funnily enough, at the new moon, 2 weeks later, I had a bereavement of a friend, very unexpected, and I was surprised how deeply it affected me. And I was really busy dealing with that, and there was also this element of, in this case, there was things that I didn't necessarily want to share. So what I'm doing now is, I think I will be saying I will include these probably in my newsletter, but I did want to share with you what is going on because it's an unprecedented time. But also I have to look at my own side of this and look at the self-care. And I urge you to put that top of your list at the moment, all that's going on. So that's the sort of background to where we are now. I've also discovered that I've got some, if you've been following my newsletters, you know I've been saying all year that or it's been coming up and up, that I have to go deep diving and mining, and this is what's coming up for a lot of people. Now, I thought, and I was diving deep, and I thought this was just diving deeper on what I knew. And then I discovered there are new things, things from the past that I've actually buried. They're hidden in my subconscious. And this is all tying in with the astrology. So this is sort of foremost in my mind, and underpinning what I'm doing at the moment and what's going on for me. And as such, that's something that I'm not ready to share within the newsletters, but this is a way that I can. I also feel that as part of my ethos, which ties again in with the astrology, that we're in a time where things are evolving. We need to keep evolving. We need to keep changing. We need to keeping on with the change. I think my newsletters will change in some format when I come back to them, but until I go back to them, I don't know. I've had to have this. It's like I've had to have a break from them in order to get a different perspective. So there's lots of analogies here with the astrology. I'm just going to check in on the comments that are coming up. If I can see them. There's lots of analogies. Oh no, that's funny, isn't it? That it's no, this didn't work. Being inspired and stuck both at the same time. How to tap into the power of the astrology and work with it. Well, that's actually the key of what I want to talk about at the moment. So what is actually going on? Well, we've had a new moon and solar eclipse in Capricorn. We've got a full moon and lunar eclipse coming up on the 10th in Capricorn. For a few years now, we've had Pluto in Capricorn. In early 2018, 2 years ago, Saturn joined. And Saturn and Pluto are big players. When they connect with planets in our chart, we get big changes, we get big challenges, we get big changes. But the nature of these is the type of contact that they're making is what we call a conjunction. So they're side by side in the chart. Now, if you've got something that's at 90 degrees squaring or opposite on the chart, it's much more of a challenge. It's something that's really in your face, really, really challenging. I find when we've got a conjunction, it's side by side. If you think in terms of talking to somebody, if they're side by side beside you, your energies can blend more easily. It's not confrontational. If someone's sat across from you, it can be seen as a confrontation. I was once told when I had to have a difficult conversation with somebody, make sure they're sat to your side or beside you, because actually this particular person, the conversation I needed to have, they said if you look directly at them, the comment it will be taken as confrontational because it will be triggering something in the past of them. But for everybody, it's like we talk about confrontation, opposition. We talk about opposition in politics. So when we've got these planets side by side, we can more readily access the positive use of them, the positive nature, characteristics of them. On top of that, one of them, Saturn, is actually in its own sign. So as such, it has the potential to express itself in the best possible way, the best possible time. If you want to look back on history of this, Saturn has a 28-year cycle. If you've been around long enough to remember back that far. So you think it started 2 years ago. So we're talking about 28 to 30 years ago. The similar sort of energies. And we're talking about, when I talk about energies, similar energies, I'm talking about how it makes us feel, not the outward circumstances that provoke or create those feelings. It's in my eye. So Saturn doesn't get a good press, and I've got lots of keywords here. So the people that have been contacting me, there's a lot of Saturn that's being felt, as it seems to be the key protagonist for people who are really struggling at the moment. But there are Pluto ways in which, or aspects of Pluto that are coming in as well. So keywords for Saturn: structure, discipline, authority, rules and regulations, limiting, restricting, pessimism, depression, fear, conservative, hardworking, serious, realistic, realism. Get a reality check with Saturn. Prudent, reliable, responsible, the teacher. And physically, it manifests its teeth, bones, and skeleton are ways in which the parts of the body it rules. I know a couple of people who've had severe teeth problems over Christmas and New Year, and the people with bones and skeletal problems as well. So they're not the most joyous of words. And this is why Saturn gets a bad press. It's very difficult to feel full of joy when Saturn is aspecting our chart, when he is working strongly. However, like I agree with Donna Cunningham, who says that she believes that the essence of I don't know if she said the signs of the planets, I believe it's both, are essentially neutral. And they will play out, there are extremes where they can be underexpressed or overexpressed, for all of them. Even words within the characteristics can be a positive or a negative. And let's look at this as realism and reality check. That's sort of, do I really want a reality check? Well, we might want one actually, because if we've been doing something to excess, overworking, a lot of us, pushing the boat, burning the candle at both ends, if we've been overstretching ourselves in any area of our life, and we had Jupiter in its own sign, Sagittarius, until relatively recently. That has now gone into the early stages of Capricorn. So it's like Capricorn comes in after Sagittarius to just to pare back and to say, whoa, hang on a minute. Let's just, is this grounded in reality? Remember, it's an earth sign. Is this grounded in reality? Let's just trim off the excess that we don't need, and let's get back to bare bones about what we've got and what we need and what we've got. So a very practical sign. The analogy I often give people, if I'm seeing a Saturn transit coming up in their personal astrology, for example, to their sun, is we could be going along. For example, imagine that we're going along, we're going on a journey, we're going along the motorway, quite fast speed, whatever suits us, and then we come across some roadworks. Here in the UK, we've got, we used to have just speed checks, cameras every now and then on those. We've got these fabulous yellow ones that they put up now. You've got one at the beginning, so it measures you as you go in. There's one at the end. It's called an average speed check. So it actually clocks you going in to this speed limit, clocks you going out the other side and checks the time that you've taken to go through. So it's not like a speed camera where a lot of people just slam on the brakes and go slowly as they go and then pick up speed again. We have to, in order not to get done for speeding, maintain a steady pace all the way through. Now, if you've been pottering along full of the joys of life, enjoying a little bit of speed maybe, and then you are reined back by these roadworks, by the cameras, you have to conform or break the rules, and it can feel very frustrating. It's like, how far, how long is this going to take? And that is very Saturnian. It could be outside rules and regulations, outside influences that we feel are restricting us. And the worst thing we can do when Saturn is affecting us is to let the frustration build. I remember when I was learning astrology, I was told very strongly, you cannot push Saturn, otherwise Saturn will push back again. So instead of getting frustrated with this slower speed, we're still moving forward, albeit at not the speed in the way that we had hoped. Saturn is a teacher, and what we can do is, the best thing we can do for ourselves is to notice those restrictions, those frustrations building, and to let them go, and actually to look at what Saturn is trying to show us, to enjoy the slower pace. Now, if we're rushing around like mad all the time, and then you have to slow down and stop, in some cases, I have seen that physically, people are being stopped at the moment. It's like changing that mindset as well, away from why is this happening to me, to what's this trying to teach me? What is the lesson here for me? In fact, there's a lot of joy to be had at going along at a steadier, slower speed. You can see more of the countryside, more of what's around you. As I say, you're still getting to your goal, but it's just that something else has come along and it's not quite on your terms. So that is a key sort of way of thinking about Saturnian energy. I would say at this point I'm drawn to tell you about the grid that I've set up. I have printed out the chart for the full moon and the lunar eclipse on the 10th. I've put a photo, just an overview one of this, in the comments of the short video I put yesterday saying that I was going to be doing this call. And I will post it separately later if I can. I can't put it access it in the comments at the moment. So I've got sacred geometry, I've got the flower of life and underneath. On top of that, I have put the chart, as I said. It wanted on the sort of four angles, pieces of anandamide with a black amber in the middle. They were the starting point, and the anandamide, I feel, is very important. What that can do is it's bringing a joyous energy in at the moment. If you know anandamide, it's also called aurora quartz. The tiny little facets of it, many faces on the clusters, they reflect rainbow energy. You get these beautiful rainbows. Anandamide can also be used to clear our energy field. And I think that's one thing that's really important to do at the moment, is to keep our energies as clear as possible. So the way you would do that would be to hold the anandamide behind you on the floor. It's as if you're doing it for yourself. And you very, very slowly bring it up. So we're bringing it just to give you the overview, we'll bring it over our heads, right down to the floor in front of us, and then you would go back again. And then you, from the side, at whatever distance from the body feels right, because we're talking about in different layers of the aura here. And then you would go over the top, down to the floor, the other side, and then back again. But the speed with which we're doing it is not, we're just doing it the way I've done it there. We are going at this sort of pace. And you're sensing as you go. And if we set the intention beforehand that this is going to clear unwanted energies from our aura, you'll find you'll reach a point where that will happen. It will just stop. And it's clearing energies. And you just hold the crystal there until it's time to move on. This is an excellent exercise to do in pairs. You've got somebody who can do it, whether you can do it to somebody else. There goes the light. And I knew it would go out at some stage. Yeah. So you allow it to do what it needs to do. The black amber is a very protective energy, and you would hold that above your head and you imagine it melting. An amber melts, you imagine it melting, and it melts all down. It provides a very protective coating around your aura. It does take ties out as well. Initially, when I was working with these, we use the anandamide, and then we use the to clear the aura, and then the black amber to provide the protection. And what we found with the ties coming out with the black amber, that the spaces created needed to be filled very quickly, so the old patterns didn't come back in. So you can actually use the anandamide briefly afterwards to do that, and you can, if you just want to do it that way, you can just then hold the anandamide above your head and imagine it filling the spaces. So I'm going to, let's finish off with that. There are, interspersing the 4 anandamides, there's the light back on. I'm loving all these analogies. There are pieces of ancestral light. I've got small grid pieces, and Capricorn energy is very much about ancestral, and the whole basis of what's going on at the moment. We really do need to look at what we've inherited, what we've taken on as our own, create new traditions, create a future that is more authentically ours and not what we were taught, what we've inherited. There's another word which isn't coming to me at the moment, but will in a minute, I'm sure. And I've got 4 pieces of natural rose quartz around the outside. I'll explain about those in a moment. And then it felt like some sort of guardians wanted to come in on the chart. So I've got my fairly big unicorn, which is a sodalite, very feminine, beautiful. I've got my chlorite quartz small skull. I think he wants to say no, actually. There's the camera. This is mine. He's usually to be found hanging out on my desk, listening and helping. There is a baby rose quartz dragon. I'm going to have to show you this one because she's very unique. I keep trying to get some more of this design, but I haven't managed to yet. Isn't she cute? So I find as a dragon, she brings in, it's almost like piggy, sometimes I think, but it's definitely a dragon because the wings at the back. But she brings in a very playful energy with the rose quartz as well. Those 3 are all actually mine. This one is one actually that is the same on the website, but wanted to come and play today. An agate, large agate dragon, which has been fantastically cut. But you've got these cutouts here. So these are our guardians on the chart. So let me explain to you why rose quartz is on there. And this is where And so Saturn is thought of as the Grim Reaper and sort of a quite dark masculine energy. The bits I'm going to read you are from any of you who've sort of worked with me in the past or have readings from me will know that I constantly talk about crystal doorways. A lot of you will know this. Suicide Lily, at the bottom there, I did my crystal training with. This is the handbook that accompanies. There is a smaller book they do, which is, let me show you, this sort of size. In fact, they have all sorts of books like this. This is always a workbook. Let me just show you the type of thing that we've got in here. What they've done is crystal nets. These are very simple, so if you get this version of the book that I'm going to read from, it will give you a very simple layout, body layout, show you where to place the crystals, and it tells you what it's about, what it's for, how you do it. Very simple, very effective. And there are several books that they've got. And the first one, which the small version of which is eluding me at the moment, because I've shown it to so many people when I'm doing readings that it's probably in amongst some charts somewhere. So Saturn, the Saturn net, the colour cloth it's under is a pink, not what you would normally associate with Saturn. The crystals used are 4 clear quartz and 4 rose quartz. And Sue, who's also an excellent astrologer, I will read some of her words because I was once told, if someone's written it well, why rewrite it? So I'm making no apologies for reading her words, because I think they say it probably better than I can. Saturn acts by preventing us from wasting our time. Prevents waste. So that's again referring back to if we've been Jupiter energies when it was potential, when it was in its own sign Sagittarius. Following on from Jupiter's Capricorn, does Saturn on the rules Capricorn. Saturn also acts by preventing us from wasting our time in hedonistic, short-sighted and egotistical pursuits. It helps us to move beyond self-centered adolescence to a more stable, fruitful growth. In this way, Saturn is the sober guardian who can balance the excesses of an exuberant Jupiter. Depending on one's perception, Saturn is either the creator of obstacles or the remover of limitations. In truth, what we decide to do with these energies is up to us. But Saturn will never let us out of the classroom until we have completed and learned the lessons we need to be truly free. This is where you cannot push Saturn, you cannot rush, you cannot skip. It's a process, the structure, there's a process. We have to follow our own path, and we may be able to see the end goal, but we have to take the steps to get there, because there is learning with each step. Further on, so explaining the pink cloth and rose quartz reveal that the only limitations are the ones we place upon ourselves by choosing to turn away from what we can be. The pink re-emphasizes the acceptance and understanding of the self as a whole, integrated, worthy being, equal and united to everything else in creation. Saturn limits us until we learn that the only freedom from all limitations is love itself. So you want to know that the book, by the way, covers planets next to all the planets. And various other ones, colours, colour keys, chakras, fantastic references these are. And if you enjoy working with crystals as well, or even just working with crystals, doesn't have to be with astrology. Nets. So with these as a net, to talk about, the idea is that you lie down and you put the crystals around you. However, put that aside. The one restriction I am feeling at the moment is a lack of space. Anything we feel we're lacking is very much playing out. I do need to change my desk. I haven't found the right one yet, and I am sort of putting off the work involved with moving everything around. So using a crystal net, if you have your own astrology chart, that is a unique energy signature for you, and it can be used for distance healing. So you can look at the net and whatever the crystals are that you lay out around the body, you can look at the chart and you can lay out as if you were lying on that chart. Now, one way to do that is to do it along the south node, north node axis. If you're familiar with those, and you actually have the south node actually ahead. Or you can maybe put it along the, you can maybe have the sun at your head. I would intuit those however you wish on those. See what it feels best for you. But you could do it along the ascendant line as well, ascendant to descendant, or just whatever feels right for you. So you can encompass the chart or imagine you were lying on it, and it will work as a distance healing in the background. Let's come to Pluto. So to go back and explain what's happening a little more thoroughly, excuse me, I just need to sit for the drink. As I said, we've got these two eclipses, and we've got all this Capricorn energy. What is happening on, we've got the full moon and lunar eclipse on the 10th. The day after, Uranus is going direct. So at that chart, Uranus is stationary. Not well. I know this is how we perceive it. Obviously, planets don't actually go backwards. This is how we feel the energy. It's to do with how the planets go by. You know, whether they're in front of us, behind us, how the energy reaches us. That's the way I think of it. I think of it in terms of like the moon, gravitational fields, how we feel the gravitational energies. So Uranus will be stationary, going direct, as I say, the day after the full moon and lunar eclipse, and then the day after that, Saturn and Pluto are exactly conjunct. Because of the slowness that both of these planets move, Saturn, this conjunction only happens every roughly 35 years or so. I haven't actually got the dates with me of the last one. It was in the 70s, could be in 72, I'm not sure. Yeah, I think it might be so. Anyway, and there's another one not going to happen for a long time, and it will not be in Capricorn again, because they will both obviously have moved on. So these are very intense energies. Pluto and Uranus are the two planets of change. Uranus is more revolutionary change. Uranus, if it hits anything in our chart, it's the energy of the unexpected. It's a rebellious energy, but it will be something that will come out of the blue. Whereas Pluto is more evolutionary change. This is the sort of energy that is really strong at the moment, and something that we perhaps need to, well, I think it's the one thing perhaps that we need to tap into. When Uranus changes direction, going back direct. It could bring some unexpected things into our lives. It could, but what it's more likely to do, because it's actually going back direct, it's going, excuse me, I see my throat chakra is going. Perhaps I need to look at Mercury. So it's gone forward, it's gone back, and it's going back over the same territory. Whilst it's been retrograde, it's been it's more about it's working on an internal level. So we've been thinking about what changes need to make. We've been becoming aware of what changes we need to make. When it starts to move forward, we can actually start to action that. So it may just be, there may not be any major changes, any major curveballs, because it's more about we're actually going back over territory that it's already gone back over in this instance. And it's like, what can we do now? How can we make these things happen? Whereas Pluto, say, is more, it's working very much, trying to explain what I feel. Working with the Capricorn energies, what I've been getting very strongly is keep on keeping on. Saturn Capricorn is about a short term, or planning for the longer term. So this is the energy that it will save for the long term, it will plan for the long term, it will put things in place now, knowing that the benefits will come in the future. Excuse me, my throat is definitely going, I've got a tickle now. And because we've had these working through Capricorn already, we have been doing a lot of the work. Those of us that have been listening and been making changes and been, I want to use the phrase stepping up to the mark, because that's what we're being called to do. It's about keeping on doing what we're doing, right? There may be no major curveballs, but we do need to keep on keeping on. I came across a CD which I've been playing in the car because I was getting bored on some long journeys, and it's called The Slight Edge. So Saturnian, so Capricorn, and it's saying that we don't go to the gym once and wake up and look in the mirror the next morning and we've got a six-pack. It's small decisions every day that we make that build together, continue, make incremental changes, incremental growth, improvement, whatever it is we're trying to achieve. And that is really very much, it's like, if you're doing something at the moment and it's working, keep doing it, keep plugging on, just bit by bit. And very much so with the Capricorn, yeah, we all have off days. We fall off the wagon, or we can't be bothered to do our yoga or meditations there, but the next day you get back and you do it. And this enables us to do that if we tap into those energies. It is really very important to do that. So let's talk about Pluto's role at the moment. So if I give you keywords for Pluto: evolutionary change, subconscious, deep emotions, birth, death and rebirth, phoenix rising from the ashes, soul scouring, regeneration, transformation, shadow side, power. We've got power and powerlessness, powerless as well. Control, taboos, intense, obsessive. And bodily, it's to do with elimination. So if we get diarrhea, if we get constipation, it can be Plutonian. It's about the elimination, getting things out of the system, releasing things. And if we're blocking it, we will get constipated. if we're going through a lot of release, and this is something that somebody was telling me about in private messages this morning, that they've got a physical purging going on. They know it's emotional, but they're asking if it was particular to them or what was going on. Yes, this is definitely the energies coming up, releasing. And what we're really strongly being urged to do is to release the past. As I mentioned briefly before, there's a lot of ancestral tradition, customs, conditioning, the way we were brought up, which as children we take as our own in Capricorn. An example of this I often give is something that really surprised me. My mum was a farmer's daughter, and so farming is innate in her blood. Her brother, excuse me, her brother took the farm on when their parents retired. My sister's married a farmer as well. Part and parcel of farming in this country is hunting. And I have strong memories of being taken to Boxing Day hunt and going out with my dad around the country lanes as a youngster, following it. And this is in no way talking in judgments either way, and I'm keeping my personal views. It's just an example of how we may be brought up with something, but is it our own? So my mum was innately, this was all part of her, innate with her, and it's not something when just hunting, it's not something we've ever had as an adult a discussion about. But she really surprised me. She was in her 80s, and we were just sat talking about something general. It must have just come up in passing. And she just turned around to me and she said, I may have been brought up with it, but I no longer think hunting is right. That was very surprising to me, but that is very much this energy, just an example of was innate. The way that she was brought up, it was just around her, so you automatically do it because your parents are doing it. It's part of your society. But at some stage in our life, and often it's a Saturnian thing, when Saturn is affecting us, influencing us, it's a prime opportunity to look at aspects of our life and say, all right, I may have been taught this as a child, I may have been brought up this way, but is this really me? Is this authentic? And we are really, really being urged to be authentic at the moment. This is what it's all about, stripping away the layers of conditioning, releasing childhood stuff. This is really strong, the ancestral energy. If you're working with any ancestral crystals, they will be spot on at the moment. Ancestralite, of course, the Celtic quartzes work with the father mother line, and it's also will be highlighted at the full moon because we have this Saturn Cancer axis. Saturn rules Capricorn. Saturn represents the father in the chart in its own, that's it will be in its own sign. Cancer is ruled by the moon, and that represents the mother. So you innately, just with this full moon with Capricorn, I say Capricorn full moon because it's the sun. I think of it in terms of the sun having a new full moon. It's technically most people refer to it as a Cancer full moon, but it is whilst the sun is going through Capricorn, we will have a new moon and a full moon. We've had the new moon. This is the full moon whilst the sun is in Capricorn. So the sun is in Capricorn and the moon is on the opposite side of the chart. So you innately have with those energies this ancestral mother, father, childhood, how we were brought up energy. Full moons are excellent for releasing. Pluto is excellent for releasing. It is birth, death, rebirth, rising from the ashes. And I've had a couple of conversations with people about Australia, and that will very much be Phoenix rising from literally from the ashes there. And what that is also bringing up for a lot of people is the Saturnian energy of fear. Fear and anxiety. Fear is very much a Saturn word. And I actually came across a different analogy for this the other day. If I can find it. Neil Donald Walsh. Fear. Feeling excited and ready. By tapping into that one. It's changing the energy. Fear and anxiety, by the way, are side by side on the motor cortex. So this is why in some situations somebody will be excited and somebody will be fearful in new situations, and we go, oh, I'm really excited about this, and somebody else will, not so sure. They are very close, and it actually takes very little to turn this around. Been working with a client recently and had a lot of fear and anxiety from her childhood, and she has made the most amazing transformation, the most amazing turnaround that I think I've seen. I've been surprised at the speed with which she does it. She's embraced it full time. And I think I can find the words that she wrote actually. She said, and I spoke to the other day, she actually said now, and these are very Saturnian Capricorn words, she said she is now, rather than this anxiety automatically coming up, she said she's reacting now out of structure rather than fear. This is where I was saying about the energy characteristics being essentially neutral. Structure, fear. The structure there is being very positively used as a way to react differently, change the responses. If, like me, you come out in the cold rash at the word structure, it's something I'm working on. It has that energy, obviously, of potentially restricting the freedom. It's like a lot of spiritual people, a lot of artistic people, creative people hate to have a routine Saturnian, because they think it might squash the creativity. Oh, no, I need to express myself and I need to express myself. That's the innate feeling that it's this creativity is spontaneous. But actually, if we put some form of structure, some sort of a better word if you don't like structure, I find framework easier, because it to me suggests that I've still got flexibility. Putting frameworks in place, whereby what can happen is if we leave it too much to chance, we never get around to doing anything. So yeah, well, when the urge hits me, I will do my art, I will do my painting, I will do my music. But we need to create that space to do it. So sometimes we need to actually positively use the framework as structure and set aside time in the diary where we're able to explore that possibility. So it doesn't thwart creativity. This is where we can blend the energies and they can work quite well together. At this point, I'm just going to pause mentally, and any questions on what I've said so far? I've still got some things that I will cover, but if there's anything that's coming up for you, anything I've unclear, or anything you would like to ask me, please post in the comments. I need to regroup my energies. I'm just going to have this quick spray. Essences and sprays, by the way, if you do work with them, are very, very good at the moment. It's no coincidence that there are more and more people doing them. They are very effective form of support at the moment. So it's a case of finding a spray and essence that works for you and the person whose energies resonates with your own in their ethos. So to regroup, so the person I was talking to this morning was saying they just wondered if there was a resonance, a clearing going on for a shift forward. Absolutely. That sums it up better than I can. If there's a resonance, a clearing going on for a shift forward, absolutely. We need to keep on clearing. This is the Pluto energy. Clearing the old, releasing the past. It is about what's buried. It can be soul scouring, but it's not in a very deeply emotional sign at the moment. But we do at some stages in our lives have to open Pandora's box. So that might be where you are. But be aware of what your subconscious is telling you. It can be very effective to note your dreams down at times like this, especially if you've got somebody who can help you with dream analysis. They can be very revealing, and this unconscious, subconscious works in our sleep, so we get messages through that way. Very much time we need to listen and be aware. Self-awareness is incredibly important. Noticing what is coming up, not necessarily reacting to it, but just saying, okay, as I said before, change the mindset from why is this happening to me, what is this trying to teach me? Stepping back and seeing if you can see the message in you, see if you can see the repeating pattern from the past, see if you can see the characteristic that you are trying to develop in this lifetime. Hi, Di, Karen, Joyce, Lizzie, nice to see you all. Sorry, I had to scroll down. I didn't see you there. Thanks, Kristen. I'll come to that in a minute, so I didn't see it before. So this client was saying that she was actually having it as she recognised it as an emotional purging, a physical purging, as I said. So that's back to the system releasing. And she was very aware, and that she said that she felt that her stuff was looming up around her, like there was no escape, but she had to sit through it. And this is part of this keep on keeping on energy at the moment. It's really important that we do release, look at and release as much as we can as it comes up, and not do that Plutonian thing of pushing it back in under the surface, out of sight. Hidden things come up. As I said, I've got that I'm aware to look at some stage. And she used some very good words of physically how things are manifesting. There was lots of lack. She was noticing lack in different areas of her life. Exhaustion. That can be a Saturn thing. It can physically make us tired. It's that slowing down the body. Resistance. And this is a key word. What we resist persists. And as I said, again, repeating myself from before, we need to let go of resistance. This is where we need to be aware. What are we resisting? Are we resisting looking at something? In our actions, reactions, what is that Is there something that we are not wanting to do? There's something filtering through to me, but I'm not quite getting it, so hopefully it'll come in a minute. And she said she was wanting to go back to the past as it was familiar. Being drawn back to the past. And this can be the nodal axis that's going on. I won't go into that so it's not too confusing for non-astrologers. But it's, the past can be very, it is that habitual, familiar, it's something we know. Ties in with other things in the chart, which I won't go into now, but that we really need to let go of that, what we've been holding on to as safety blankets. What things in a broad general term, which can include people, situations, jobs, places, things that where we stay because it's better the devil we know. It's a comfort zone, it's a safety zone, makes us feel safe and secure. The unknown, what's out there, the new, can be scary sometimes, but it's one of the things that it's like, what is the benefit of staying where I am? And in a lot of cases, all it's going to bring is more unhappiness and more distress, more challenges. So it's breaking that pattern, not being drawn back, finding the courage, which is the flip side to the fear, to move forward. I think that sort of covers what she said there. Oh yeah, one very interesting thing to put out there generally that she shared with me, she's happy for me to share this. She said last night, as part of her process, she felt as if she was birthing. And it came to her that to do with menopausal women, birthing in menopausal women are birthing in the new energy, i.e. you're not redundant yet, and that's what they do, birthing in the new energy. And that really very much ties me in with what I want to say about a positive thing about Capricorn. I could not sleep last night, but it's part of the energies I'm going through at the moment, and so much going through my head. But what I suddenly remembered was when I had a flip in my way of viewing Capricorn energies. There was something I could never quite pinpoint. There's something it didn't sit quite right. And in as much as what I read, there was something more to it. It's going back to the pink, this rose quartz with Saturn. It's a softer energy than it's not all hard, masculine, severe restriction. It's an earth sign. And I was a bit puzzled by this. So I suddenly remembered last night, so I'm trying to get to sleep, about the Council of Grandmothers. And this is something I was doing my new moon insights for exactly found it today, 17th of January 2018. So we're nearly 2 years ago. And just some bits that I've highlighted. Again, it's easier to read it than try and explain it because the words I've used then, I probably wouldn't use the same ones now. And what was going on then? This is when Saturn had newly gone into Capricorn. So I was exploring what that meant and the energies. Overall, I feel the key. I felt the key to this year, so this was 2018, is Saturn, mainly because it has gone into its own sign of Capricorn, where it will remain for a couple of years. Any planet that is in its own sign has the opportunity to work at its best, to express its full potential, and for us to tap into its positive expression as well as the negative one. It doesn't mean that we won't have challenges from it, but that the positive, higher expression of that planet can be accessed more easily than at any other time. We can find the gift, turn it around and find a positive expression. Through my preparation for a workshop I was doing at the time, writing about the astrology, I'd been using Saturn keywords like structure, duties, responsibility, grounding, practical, manifesting of ideas, self-discipline, building strong foundations for the future. Saturn is also a tradition, so represents the way things have always been done. But something was nagging me. I knew there was something I wasn't getting. There is a lighter side to Saturn, although it can all seem quite serious due to sometimes restrictive. I felt I was missing something with regard to its connection to an expression of Earth energies. Something I asked myself was, how relevant is tradition today? Can we relate to it? In 2018, in a technological age, when innovation and change is rapid and constant, what role does tradition play in our lives? Is it still valid? When we use such traditional words as duties and responsibilities, can we really relate to them? And one of the missions I've been on for the last couple of years is to change the traditional wording associated with some of the signs and planets of astrology and update them so that they are more relatable. I asked the question, are we viewing Saturn too traditionally? And I was aware that the rebel in me was sort of squirming at the words a little bit. I always encourage clients to look for the gift, the wisdom and learning from the experiences, and crystals like Ancestralite help this. But I'm sure there was some, I was struggling to think of more positive traditions, because there was a lot of ancestral clearing coming up. So I was seeing with myself and clients a lot of strong family patterns that have been quite restrictive, and people were clearing. So a lot of that going on. So it was struggling to see that positive side a little bit more. I was sure there were some, but what were they, and how can we positively use tradition in today's modern society? And then I came across, I was listening to some astrology, and I came across a guy called Gemini. I love it, Brett. His teacher of shamanic astrology, Daniel Giannario, said Capricorn wasn't about governments or beliefs, and is about governments. So that's why we've got with the Pluto energy as well, which is about power. Yes, we're all a little bit disillusioned. Well, a lot of us in the world are disillusioned, and we're seeing a lot of quote-unquote problems emanating from those in positions of power in government. So Capricorn wasn't about governments or beliefs, lawmakers, lawgiver, but is the council of grandmothers, of wise elders, earth teachers who are here to preserve the traditions for 7 future generations. He used the analogy of a tree and Capricorn as the trunk, solid and organic, describing how the roots need to go deep for the branches to go high. How Capricorn energies help us to connect to earth wisdoms and traditions. And I thought this was just a phrase. So when I searched online, I was really surprised to find that there was a group of Indigenous women who had come together and called themselves the Council of Grandmothers. And I explained all about that in that newsletter. The phrase is earth teachers, wisdom from the earth. And it is a modern day council of grandmothers, and to paraphrase it, they were bringing old teachers, they were marrying, really. They were trying to preserve the teachings, but in a modern day society, and marrying the two together. So I think when we have ancestral challenges, if we're looking at ancestral energies, it's easy to get caught in what happened, what was done to us, any lack, the challenges, but there's an awful lot of wisdom around to be tapped into, and there is a positive side to ancestral energies as well, and we can access that as well as well. It's a way of learning from the past as well, but there are ancestors that have got our back as well as those that have maybe brought us challenges. So that's something really important to remember, and to think of the wisdom of the earth and of elder women as well. And I think what we're seeing now is all this coming together. Light workers, this is where the keep on keeping on again has been coming up so much. Many of us have been clearing, and the sense is, it's not just me saying it, a lot of us are feeling that there are big things out there this year. For those of us that, the more clearing we've done, the more we've done we've already been doing our Saturnian keeping on, keeping on. We've been steadily ploughing through all the crap that's come up. We've been getting rid of it. We've been looking at stuff. We've been moving forward, and a lot of the time it's because it's been heavy going. Not surprising when Pluto's involved, but it's that soul scouring. But it's each time we're keeping on, keeping on. We've kept on moving forward, even though at times we felt like we've been standing still. But we will begin this year, if we've been doing the work, we will begin to reap the benefits, right? Because we've done so much clearing. So if you have been going through all that and doing it, as a friend of mine would say, take your dominant hand and give yourself a pat on the back. It's not been easy, but the rewards, Capricorn, will begin to come. But we need to keep at it. Yes, it's tiring, and it's like, oh no, not more. Another layer. Oh my God, I thought I dealt with that. No, yeah, okay. But we will get quicker at clearing things. We will find it easier and easier because we've already done it. And we will, if we keep our awareness there, we will become more aware more easily, readily. And so it's like we will spot things quicker. We'll be able to stop patterns. It's all building up. All this, we've laid the foundations. Can't build a house without good foundations. That's what we've been doing for a few years, really. So really is time to, but as part of that, I have to say, it is time to step up this year. And that's why we will get even bigger challenges. People that aren't ready to step up might find that in some way they fall by the wayside. It's step up or step out, basically, a lot of it. Are you in or are you out? as I put it to a few people, that's how direct I've been getting it through. Are you in or are you out? Are you committing or not? Come on. And my answer has been, I've come too far to only come this far. And I think that's what a lot of people are feeling. Frank, Chris, I'm going to answer your question. What are your suggestions for types of healing to focus on? Manifesting, releasing, relaxing, etc. So I'm tuning in and think of what I've been doing and what's been coming up. So, as I said, awareness is key. Relaxation is certainly one at the moment, right? So, as I said, as the client said, about feeling tired, wasn't the word to use, that's my word. But the fatigue, the sun is not very strong yet. We're technically going through winter. The sun is building in strength, but it's very much about listening. This whole time, there's a huge thing, it's listening. That's the awareness, listening to ourselves. And this is really why I've taken a step back on my newsletters. And here's an interesting destructuring that I've done. I was talking to a friend, and my time clock has gone completely out. Saturn, it's that Saturnian thing. And that's something I'm looking at. But as part of that, I've been going to bed late. So I've, but I'm trying to get back, I'm trying to do that Saturn thing of trying to get back into a routine, very good word, structure, routine, creating new habits. And that is something that we can really tap into at the moment. What structures and what new habits do we want to create? What do we want looking forward? Do we want to be doing yoga every morning or meditating every morning? But we do very much need to listen to our bodies. And if our body says sleep, we need to sleep. My destructuring, which surprised me, was somebody, I was sort of saying, like setting my alarm. A friend said to me, well, why do you set an alarm? Well, I need to get up, have things to do. And I was trying to not sleep in too late so that I wasn't repeating this pattern of running the day late. But I realised that I was actually sapping my energy because I was thinking I must get back into this routine of getting the times. This is how I'm going to. I was almost trying to force my routine of getting back my timeline back in. But actually, I was not getting sufficient sleep. And I thought, well, I'll just try it for a few days when I don't have to be up for a certain time. I will turn the alarm off and see what happens. And I will let my body go as it needs. Wake up. I'll wake up when I need to. And that was quite revolutionary in a way. And I'm feeling the benefit of it. And now that I'm actually feeling better because I'm getting more sleep, I'm getting the sleep that I need because I'm allowing my body to show me what it needs. I am now feeling more mentally structured and able to start changing the old pattern. And that seems to be a backward way of doing it. So we really need to relax and not push ourselves. I've got a sad lamp, which I've been using. That's really helped me. I've also this year, it's tucked under my jumper because it's changed too narrow to go around there. This is a necklace that I dug out, citrine. I've been wearing this every day during citrine and garnet. Been wearing it every day through the winter since autumn really, and I found that has helped me. So get out in the sun when you can. There's various nets you can do to bring in energy if you need it. Sunstone, that and citrine. But listen to your body very much. Yes, relaxation. Be aware. If you're into meditation, certainly suggest that. And sound is a very good way of doing that. Manifesting, it's a very good time to, as I say, to start planting the seeds. We tend to think of the spring equinox as a time when spring starts. Suddenly, whoa, spring's bursting forth. But actually, before it comes above the surface, there are months, weeks, months, where it's actually growing beneath the surface. So, the growth is already going there. So there are various techniques that I would suggest. I found personally that I'm just going where I'm drawn. Very much a case of trusting your instincts. I've been drawn to, I can't even remember what I was doing because it's one of those things that just evolved. I was clearing the Christmas decorations at the weekend, and I thought I'll put something on in the background. I can hit YouTube on my TV. I wanted to listen to something. I think I was looking up at something. I wanted to check something on the astrology. And I listened to that, and by chance, it went on and started playing a video of someone I've not come across before. Well, I know of, but I haven't read his book, so I haven't really listened to him before. And that's Neil Donald Walsh, as I quoted in his video analogy the other day. That, just listening to that talk in the background, it started off very, oh yeah, and I was like, oh yeah, you know, quite general stuff. As I was packing the decorations away, by the end of the recording, I was sat down on a stool going, oh wow, oh my. It was just, there were so many messages in there. As I say, the tape I was listening to in the car, the CD, something that somebody just mentioned by chance, and I just followed my instinct and looked it up. There is something I will recommend for manifesting, and if anyone is going through the Saturnian difficulties with finances, but this is really a book that I'm reading on my Kindle. Have been. It's really about tapping into. It's not just about money, but really tapping into being able to access spirit, source, joy, aligning with source so that the abundance can come forward. And it is called, I want to make sure I've got the right name, it's by Tosha Silver. So Tosha is Tosha Silver, and it's called It's Not Your Money. But as part of that, there is the most amazing abundance prayer, and it's, I mean, I'm au fait with the concept of offering things up to spirit, but this did it in a way and gave me tools and sayings and things to repeat, like everyday abundance prayer, that really completely changed my energy. So being very aware of that type of thing. What else has come up for me recently? I did make a note of things that we can use to help. The nets, crystals. It's really important to use what comes up for you on a personal level, your strength. What are you drawn to? Following your instincts. That's really strong at the moment. Right, let's releasing. I would definitely recommend salt baths, as I always do at the moment. You know, you can always take, depending what it is, a crystal in with you. And if you, that book that I recommended, I showed you Sue and Simon Linney's, there's a Pluto net in there as well, so you can use that. Hi Christine, you're very welcome. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, good luck with that. Right, I must just point out that anybody's got anything in Capricorn, obviously it's going to be having these planets going over it, but the key just at the moment as well is for people to look out for things in Cancer because of that opposition on the other side of the chart. People with Moon in Cancer, it will be marrying this full moon, but Moon in Cancer, Moon is in solar astrology, karmic astrology, represents the past. So it really is about letting go of the past. Hi Susanna. Thanks, Karen. Hi Judith. Right, I'm just going to have a look and see if there's anything that I intended to say that I haven't. Yeah, one of the phrases that came up talking about resistance is futile. but actually you can still resist it if you want to. But obviously you're going to get that brick wall. Not going to things. You know, if you want change, you have to make the change, and that's where it came in. Are you in or are you out? It was very straight, very definite. Keep on keeping on, I said. This is an example of where we need to be aware, and we don't always hear what we want to hear. Prior to a few months ago, I started getting, nearly every time I did a newsletter, I got a fantastic email back from somebody who said, and this is not ego because I don't boast, but it's just literally it's used showing an example of how I was listening on one level and not on another. And each, like for at least three newsletters in a row, somebody contacted me and said, I really appreciate what you do. Words to the effect of, I recognise that you put a lot of work into it, or I'm just going to astrology myself and I know how much work goes into this in the background. And I thought, oh, isn't that really nice that people are appreciating that they can see that there's a lot of work involved. But what I wasn't listening to was, you know, somebody said you put a lot in. And that's what I had to recognise. I put a lot in, and that's where I have to, okay, one key word that I just need to make sure that we've all got on board at the moment is boundaries. Okay, so if we're changing the past, there was something very strongly about creating new boundaries. And that really comes in very strongly on the power side of Pluto, power and control. Where have we been giving our power away? If we feel powerless, and that can be on a collective level as well as a personal, firmer boundaries need to be put in the future, right? So it's like we need to say, no, I'm not doing this anymore. I am not crossing that line. I'm not allowing you to cross that line. So being empowered, standing in our own power is very important, and boundaries are absolute key. Look at boundaries in your life. If you're feeling powerless, things are out of control, where do you need to put firmer boundaries in? Yeah, I said about trusting, following leads wherever we are led. Ultimately, authenticity. And that was it. Somebody said to me yesterday, oh, are you all right? You look really tired yesterday. I said, well, yeah, I was, to be honest, but that was me being authentic. You know, I'd just come in, I'd walked the dog, it was misty, it was wet out there. I didn't have any makeup on, but I needed to make the call. I needed to, you know, do, so it was just like, this is me. Very much down to earth, realistic. That's very Saturnian. Somebody suggested creating a focus word for the year. And the one actually that they were using, was one that I've been working on, is kindness. And if we, so that might be something that you feel drawn to do, creating a focus word. Right. One last thing I'm going to leave you with is what came up in a client session the other day. And we were checking in, this client has got their chart out there using it as a distance healing, and each session we've done, you know, checked in, does a new crystal need to go on, does it, you know, she's been putting the cards on that represents the signs and things that whatever's come up that's been relevant for her. And I, very much Saturnian, mundane, we tend to look things under our nose sometimes. Not everything needs to be fancy. We don't necessarily need to go out and buy new crystals or new things. Quite often we've got things around us that we can use, mundane. And I said to her, I said, like, you feels like you need to put something on that Capricorn Cancer axis on your chart. And I was dowsing, I was tuning in, and I said, I feel like it needs to be something that goes across the two, but it doesn't have to be fancy. Something quite mundane, something that sort of taps into everyday energy. And I was getting sort of, I sort of I looked on my desk and I saw this Tigger pencil, and it's almost, I said, almost like something like that. It could be orangey, but something that would go across, and the pencil was a bit more a paler colour. And I said, don't go searching, don't go overthinking it, don't overthink, very important at the moment. Just see what comes up, just keep an open mind and see what comes up. Sent me an email the following day saying, well, I listened to what you said, and you said, I started looking because I wondered whether there's something in her kitchen or something. And to cut a long story short, she found a little while back, she found a piece of straw on her floor. And she knew there was some significance to her, and it was like, well, what was straw doing in? And there's no straw in the house, but her cat, who's got a house outside, had got straw. But how did that come in? And she said to her husband, don't throw it away, put it in the special box, the special things. And she suddenly remembered it, and it fitted perfectly across the chart. And the link with that was that I was getting the right message, but I wasn't quite hearing it. But I told her enough for her to find it, was that her cat, she calls it a tiger, not a tigger. And the other thing I said to her, and this is the last thing I'm going to leave you on because I think it's really important, is that I checked in on crystals for her for a chart. And I said, I don't feel you need anything else. But I think you do need to use something, but it's something you've already got. And the energy behind this is that there's a strong feeling that we don't necessarily need to be seeking the new at the moment. This is about looking at the ancestors, the wisdom, but our own innate wisdom as well. We have the tools, we have the answers within us, and often we've got it around us. And I said to her, it almost feels like you've got a crystal there somewhere, something almost quite ordinary or something, but it feels like it's something that you don't necessarily value very much. It's almost like you've undervalued it. And I was aware of the analogy with undervaluing the self. And so it's almost like something that you've overlooked, neglected in some way. So it's around you, and you sort of almost say, I said, is there something around you? And I doubted. I said, have you got a bookcase in your room? She said, yeah. I said, you've got crystals on there. She said, yeah. I said, well, just look for something where you're using the word, when you look at it, you say, oh, it's just meaning. It's nothing very special. And she said, well, I've just got this. I said, you've just said dust, this Celtic quartz. Well, yeah, but it's a very ordinary one, and it's not very. Oh, and she took it off and she looked at it and she went, oh, ooh, ooh, look at the sparkles! Oh my goodness, I've not seen that before. She was turning it and she was seeing this sparkle and that sparkle and that sparkle. And I think one thing we can do to help ourselves at the moment is to find an empowering crystal. And if you're looking for one, I really want you to follow that lead, because it felt important to pass on that if you haven't got one already that you use as like a power sector or something that you find empowering, it helps you stand in your power, or sort of brings you back to your connection with source you need to. It's almost like we need to look around for something, and I encourage you to look for something that you've already got, that maybe you haven't really worked with, you put on a shelf because it maybe disappointed you in some way when you first looked at it, or you thought it's like, well, I don't really resonate with that. because that's actually resonating with the inner energy for us at the moment. And like this client, you might well find, if you pick it up and start looking at it now, look at it a bit more closely, find the inner beauty in it, find something to admire about it. And that's what we need to do with ourselves, to nurture ourselves. I think you might surprise yourself. You might need a good cleanse. Any other questions coming up? You're very welcome. Right, I've talked for long enough and my dog's crossing her legs. If you do have any more questions, anything unclear, please do get in touch. You know where to find me. On this page, obviously, you can comment. Please do continue the comments on the bottom of here if you want to, or message me privately, or email me astrologywise@outlook.com. If you need any personal help, I'm afraid I haven't got any time slots left before these big energies, but I do have some gaps towards the end of the month or coming up that if I can help in any way. And if you need any help with crystals, if you do find there's something you need, or any of the ones I've mentioned you want clarity on or more information on, you know where I am. I really hope you find that helpful, and I hope that you ride the surf of the energies that are coming up. It is a good year. There is a lot going on this year. It's going to be completely different by the end of the year. Just keep on keeping on. Be kind to yourself, practice self-care, look after yourself most of all, and thank you for being here, for your continued support, and for listening, and for helping me to do what I do to help people, and to continue to do that. So I love and appreciate you all. Thank you very much, and hope to see you soon. Take care, everyone. Bye.